Hello everyone, this is YeFlex and you're watching a producer's approach. So this video is a little bit different than what I normally do. I normally break down music and songs and things to that effect, but in this video I just kind of wanted to break down some of the components and what I'm talking about in the song. So for all those non-producers out there that, casually listen to EDM but don't make music, I just wanted to give you guys a visual representation of what I'm talking about so you guys have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. So just personally for me, I know it's really confusing understanding music terminology. I mean, as you guys hear me in the breakdown videos, I have trouble myself describing certain things and certain sounds and certain techniques, but at least for me, I'm like a producer, so I kind of understand some of the language and some of the terminology, whereas some of you guys watching might not even understand the terminology at all. So I just wanted to give you guys kind of a visual representation, because for me personally, I'm more of a visual learner, so this might help you guys understand what I'm talking about when I'm breaking down a song. So this will just kind of be a video where I just kind of describe different things within kind of basic music making and basic terminology. So basically we're going to just start off with something really simple. Here, instruments, this DAW or digital audio workstation as it's called, I use Ableton. This is the older version of Ableton. This is Ableton Live 9. This PC I'm currently using has this version of Ableton, and this is the version of Ableton I'm most used to, but I recently upgraded to Ableton Live 11. So this is the only computer with 9, because once you upgrade up from Ableton, you can't really download the older versions. Once you go up, you can't go back. There's no real backwards compatibility. So if I ever want to use 9, which I still kind of like to do, I have to use this PC. But as you can see, these are software synthesizers. These are preset synthesizers that come within Ableton. So this is a MIDI channel, audio channel, and those are just basic channels that you can use to input sounds. So this MIDI one is where you input synthesizer sounds. This audio one's where you input audio sounds. So we'll just kind of input a basic sound for reference. Okay, I put in a bass there, but maybe just put in a keys here so you can hear it a little bit better. Alright, so that's more like a pad sound. So you could use this. So you could use this more as like a lead sound. They call it a pad, but it's not really a pad. We'll throw in a synth lead here. So this is, I guess, would be considered a synthesizing lead. So you'll hear this kind of as the higher pitch sound. I mean, that's really high pitched and kind of windy kind of sounding, but you kind of get the general idea. And then a bass sound is what you heard initially. So bass sounds are kind of low tone. So you kind of hear that kind of playing along with the lead, kind of a lower pitch sound. And then you have pads where they're just kind of droning sounds. Droning just meaning like you play one note on an instrument and you can just kind of go on for a while. Has a lot of sustain. Sustain means like how long the sound sustains or lasts. So you can see there, it just kind of lasts for a while. So that's what a pad is. Pads vary. So the first one you heard was more of a straight sound, kind of euphoric. This sound is more of like an ARP. So an ARP is kind of sounding like that, where it kind of plays several notes at a time. And basically that's it. There's a sub bass. So sub bass is basically a bass sound that is between, I believe, at least 100 hertz to like 40 or 30 hertz. Basically, you don't really hear sub. Sometimes you do, but it's more like you feel the sub. So let me just throw a spectrum analyzer on this. So this is a higher pitch sub. Go down octave. So yeah, this is kind of the frequency range you would hear a sub. You kind of hear it, but you don't. Usually when you hear like a song, I guess in a club or at a rave, or I guess at a show, at a concert, I guess, you would really feel that sub more so than you would hear it. Like you would definitely feel like that sub. So those are the basic components to EDM sounds. And I guess sounds in other songs, although other songs don't emphasize the sub bass as much. They do have like a lead and a bass sound. Like rock music has a bass playing the bass notes, which kind of encompasses the sub area, and then you have like a lead guitar and a second guitar, just to make another music genre reference. But basically, so that's the sub bass. And then in terms of different effects, so when I kind of talk about different effects used in a song. So I talk about reverb, delay, and EQ and filtering, if I'm correct. So basically in audio effects, there are a bunch of different audio effects. The common ones I hear are what an auto filter is, a reverb. I like the ping pong delay, but basically delay, and an EQ. So I like to use an EQ8. So I will balance it kind of this way. So we'll start with the delay first. So the delay, as you'll notice, I'll play this sound. So we turn the delay down because this sound already has delay. So you hear how it's not really as wide and kind of doesn't have that kind of echoey effect, whereas you turn on the ping pong delay. Now you can adjust it to have that kind of effect, but basically that's kind of what I'm saying when it has like delay. It sounds kind of like it's almost echoing or bouncing around a little bit. So the next audio effect is reverb. So you notice how it's a really kind of forefront, kind of dry sound. And if you stuck reverb, this is kind of exaggerated, but this is kind of the point I'm getting across. Like the sound sounds a lot wider than just this. So that's kind of the difference there. So an EQ is an equalizer, and basically each synthesizer, and no, sorry, not synthesizer, each DAW or digital audio workstation has like a different layout for what an EQ is, but basically an EQ or an equalizer, you can basically just, you know, have like a certain frequency range. So I think it goes from all the way from 30 hertz all the way up to 22,000 hertz or 22 kilohertz. And basically you can cut sounds out. So basically a bass section or a sub bass section goes from like what, 30 or at least 40 to, you know, 150-ish area. That's kind of where I like to have it. I mean, you could have sounds in the 30 range, but you don't really hear it or really feel it too much. It's kind of unnecessary muddiness is what I've learned over the years, which is watching various tutorial videos and messing around making music myself. So you can just take this. This is, I think, almost like a low pass filter. So you can just adjust this. You can lower certain frequency ranges, increase certain frequency ranges. So So in terms of just, you know, this is an EQ. This one has 8 different bands, so you can individually modify it. I know FL has a equalizer too, where it has different bands, but I don't know how many bands it actually has. And each equalizer or EQ works differently, but this is kind of like the basic structure of one I like to use. There is also an EQ3 in Ableton, but it's not as, you know, visual as this one, where you can really go in and minute cut or take out certain things. So that's definitely interesting. And so yeah, that's basically an EQ. And for the last one is a filter. So I know I've said like certain sounds filter or gradually increase, whether it be a low pass or high pass filter. So you can see here, this is a low pass, and then this is the high pass. So low pass. So you can like automate, which is what this thing is here, kind of little dots. You can, there's like a automation function where you can automate the frequency, I believe, and then it will kind of do this whole process by itself instead of me manually doing it. So that's the high pass filter. It kind of leaves the low and then slowly builds up, bringing the high. And then the high pass filter does kind of the reverse, keeps the high and then you can go low. So that's what a filter is. So when certain songs, at least from what I hear, it gradually will like take sound out or gradually introduce sounds, like starting from the high end, starting down with the high pass, and the low pass starting from the lower end going up. So if you think about in the EQ, the low pass starts kind of from the 40-30 hertz range and then gradually goes up, whereas the high pass filter starts at like, let's say like this is 10, so around like, say like 15,000 hertz or 15 kilohertz, and then just gradually you can make it go down, or you can do whatever you want, or you can leave it here. Personally, like when I'm producing, I like to automate it to where this will go up for the high pass, and the low pass will eventually go up, starting low and then going up like that. So those are just basic different audio effects and stuff that you use. And then when I talk about certain plugins and software instruments, so in this section here is called plugins, but these are called third-party plugins. So they aren't plugins that, or sounds that you can open just when you purchase Ableton. They're not the stock sounds. These are sounds you have to purchase yourself through a third-party source, and you can put into Ableton and kind of route in so the preset or synth works. So this one is massive. This is a older type synth that I said someone like the 2012 electro and house songs used back in the day, but this is what a third-party plugin looks like, and this is what I'm talking about when I'm describing Massive or the plugin Serum or Silent. Like, this is basically what I'm kind of alluding to, just like this. So Massive, like, doesn't come with Ableton. You have to purchase it for $200. Well, at least when I purchased it, it was like 100 something to $200, and you have to get the kind of what they call a DLL file on all the verification keys and stuff, and then have it route into Ableton or your digital audio workstation so that the sounds can play. In this plugin, you can like manipulate and make your own sounds. So it's a little bit different than stock plugins, but not every plugin or third-party plugin is like that. There's like an effect one, like Guitar Rig. Polybit is just a free one I found online. It just gives you different presets. So basically these synthesizers here are ones that don't come in Ableton as stock sounds that you can purchase. You have to purchase them or download them yourself and then put them into Ableton. So overall, I think that's basically most of the things that I go over in my videos. So hopefully you guys have a better idea of that. And I guess the last thing I forgot is a vocoder. I mentioned that in the famous breakdown video, and the vocoder is a little bit interesting. I don't really have a vocal on me right now, but you could tell just by the vocoder being on that the sound sounds a little more robotic than without. Sounds a little more robotic. So I think those are all the sounds that I have described in my breakdown video so far. So I hope this visual representation helps you guys out in terms of what I'm talking about and just kind of music terminology, because I know it can be confusing. It took me at least 2 to 3 years to get the basics down. So definitely a hard thing to learn and understand, but I mean, I hope this video gives a better representation of what I'm talking about, and maybe for you guys in the future, you guys know like, oh, okay, like this component like can work in this song, like, oh, I can kind of see that now, like how this effect is used and this effect is used. And so once you see a visual representation, hopefully you guys have a better understanding of what certain terminology and certain effects and instruments are used and so forth. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, give it a like. If you feel like commenting on this video saying how much this helped you or how much it didn't help you, feel free to comment. I mean, I'll accept all comments, even if they're pretty harsh. I still, gotta take it and learn from it and run with it. So the good and the bad, you just kind of have to roll with it. Unless you're trolling, then that's not good, or trying to bot spam. But otherwise, either way, good, negative comments, you can leave them. And if you like this type of content, or the my breakdown videos, so to speak, feel free to subscribe. All right, everyone, I hope this visual representation helped you guys out and you guys have better understanding of what I'm talking about and maybe some of the effects used in other EDM songs. So have a good one, everyone. Peace.